You know, in the history of war, some people become legends. And I'm not talking about generals or kings. I'm talking about individual soldiers whose skill with a single rifle could totally change the course of a battle and strike fear into entire armies. Today, we're going to dive into the stories of four of the absolute deadliest snipers in history. And we're kicking things off with a pretty wild question, because this isn't some Hollywood super soldier. This is about a real man who was, by all accounts, quiet, humble, and stood just 5'3". Yet somehow, he became this almost mythical figure of dread on the battlefield.
His name was Simo Häyhä. He was a Finnish farmer, and during the brutal Winter War back in 1939, when the Soviet Union invaded Finland, he earned a chilling nickname from the Red Army soldiers he was hunting, the White Death.
And here's why. 542. That's his number of confirmed kills. And get this, he did it in under 100 days. To put that in perspective, that's an average of over 5 kills a day, every single day, in some of the most brutal winter conditions you can possibly imagine.
So how in the world did he do it? Well, here's where it gets really interesting. While pretty much every other sniper was relying on these high-powered scopes, Häyhä used only the basic iron sights on his rifle. Now, trying to shoot accurately at long distances like that is ridiculously difficult. So why would he do it?
Because his entire strategy was about being invisible. He was a ghost, a master of camouflage. Before he'd even set up his position, he would pack down the snow in front of him so the blast from his rifle wouldn't kick up a little puff of snow and give him away. He'd even pour water on it to freeze it solid. And to hide the vapor from his own breath in that freezing air, he'd literally keep snow in his mouth. Just pure, low-tech genius.
And that brings us right back to the iron sights. He knew scopes were actually a liability in the Finnish winter. For one, they could fog up or get frosted over, but even worse, the lens could glint in the sun, and that little flash of light basically screams, "Hey, sniper, over here!" Plus, using iron sights let him keep his head much lower to the ground, making him a smaller target. It wasn't a limitation, it was a brilliant tactical choice.
His unbelievable streak came to an end on March 6, 1940. He was hit in the face by an explosive bullet that shattered his jaw. They found him unconscious, thought he was dead, but he survived. He actually woke up on the very day the war ended. And after all that, Simo Häyhä just went back to being a quiet, humble farmer, living a peaceful life all the way to the age of 96.
Now, while Häyhä was busy defending Finland, the invading Soviet Union had its own legendary sharpshooters. And among them was the most successful female sniper in all of history, Lyudmila Pavlichenko, also known as Lady Death.
Her story starts with another really fascinating question. See, Pavlichenko wasn't a farmer or a hunter. She was a history student at Kyiv University when Germany invaded the Soviet Union in 1941. So how does that person make such an unbelievable transformation?
Well, when she first volunteered, the recruiters pretty much laughed her off. They had weapon shortages, so they gave her a single grenade and told her to go dig trenches. It wasn't until a wounded soldier handed her his rifle that she finally got her shot, and she immediately picked off 2 enemy officers. From there, her career was just meteoric. She fought in the brutal sieges of Odessa and Sevastopol and racked up 309 confirmed kills.
And this number, 36, this isn't just a part of her total kill count. This is the number of enemy snipers she beat in one-on-one duels. She wasn't just a sniper. She was hunting the hunters. And she was one of the absolute best to ever do it.
Eventually, she was wounded by a mortar and pulled from combat. The Soviets then sent her on a publicity tour to the United States and Canada to rally support for the war. But here, she faced a whole different kind of battle. Instead of asking about her tactics or her bravery, American reporters would ask her if she wore makeup, or this actual quote, if her uniform made her look fat. The obsession with her appearance really shows you the kind of sexism she had to deal with, even as a celebrated war hero.
All right, from the Eastern Front of World War II, let's jump back in time to the trenches of the First World War, because here we find a story that, tragically, is often overlooked. It's the story of Francis Pagamagabo, an indigenous soldier from Canada and one of the most effective soldiers of the entire war.
I mean, his record is just staggering. As both a scout and a sniper, he was credited with 378 confirmed kills. He single-handedly captured over 300 enemy soldiers. He was awarded the Military Medal and 2 bars for bravery, an honor given to only 39 Canadians in the entire war. He was, without a doubt, Canada's most decorated Indigenous soldier.
But all that service, all that heroism, didn't earn him respect back home. Despite being celebrated overseas, he returned to a country that treated him like a second-class citizen.
He faced poverty and neglect, and he spent the rest of his life as a powerful activist, fighting for the rights of his people. His biggest battle really began after the war ended. Okay, for our final sniper, we're going to jump forward to the Vietnam War and to an American who became a true modern legend in the Marine Corps, Gunnery Sergeant Carlos Hathcock. He was known for that signature white feather he always tucked into his hat.
So, remember how Simo Häyhä avoided scopes specifically to prevent the glint of sunlight off the lens? Well, Carlos Hathcock used that exact thing to make what is arguably the most famous single sniper shot in history.
The story is pure legend. He was stalking an enemy sniper who was hunting him, and in the distance, Hathcock saw this brief glint of light. He knew it could only be one thing, the sun reflecting off the enemy's scope. So he aimed at that tiny point of light and fired. When they found the enemy sniper, Hathcock's bullet had gone straight through the man's scope and into his eye. An absolutely impossible, 1 in a million shot.
But Hathcock's legend doesn't stop there. He also held the record for the longest documented kill for decades, an unbelievable 2,500 yards. That is nearly 1.5 miles away. And he didn't even use a sniper rifle for that shot. He used a Browning .50 caliber machine gun that he'd personally fitted with a scope.
His time in Vietnam didn't end from an enemy bullet, but from his own incredible heroism. The transport he was riding in hit a mine and burst into flames. Hathcock pulled 7 of his fellow Marines from that burning wreckage, suffering severe burns all over his body. And even though it ended his combat career, he went on to help create the Marine Corps Scout Sniper School, passing on everything he knew to a new generation.
So, we've got 4 snipers from 4 different wars, each leaving behind an incredible legacy. They were all masters of patience, marksmanship, and survival. Their actions saved countless lives on their own side while striking absolute terror into their enemies. Let's just look at the numbers, side by side.
When you just look at the raw numbers, you see Häyhä's insane record, achieved in just a few months. It's also worth pointing out that Hathcock's official count of 93 is thought to be way lower than his actual total, likely over 300, just because of the super strict confirmation rules in Vietnam. But each number here tells its own story of deadly efficiency in totally different wars.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. We celebrate their incredible skill, their bravery, and in some cases what they fought for after the war. But all of these stories are born from the absolute brutality of conflict. So what should we take away from this? Are they just legends to be admired? Or are they maybe complex, cautionary tales about the extraordinary and frankly terrifying things that human beings are capable of when pushed to the absolute limit?